Hello and welcome everybody to Flicker Effect, episode 359. We are recording this and broadcasting live on Sunday, January 31st, 2021. I'm David Lott. Joining me as always is Bobby Jackson.
Hey, I'm back.
And Yasha Wilson.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back, Bobby.
Hey, welcome back, Bobby. Michelle is still out. Hopefully she will be back next week. But we've got three of the gang here. How's it going, guys? Happy Sunday. Happy a week before the Super Bowl. Which reminds me, I guess
everybody watch the...
we probably won't be doing a show on Sunday next week.
No, we will not. I will be watching that game.
Yeah.
I find it my duty as an employee in the NFL to make it that I should watch the game so that I know what's going on so I can talk about it. At least that's what I'm going with. How drunk I will be is a completely... Yes, there was. You guys get a chance to see that? There's a pretty big trade, too. A lot of people are talking about that.
Big trade.
Mm-hmm. I missed what you guys are talking about. What are we talking about?
I mean, you don't get much bigger than that kind of a trade because you're talking about the main player on your team.
Mm-hmm.
So,
our head.
Yeah. So the Rams traded Goff for Matt Stafford of the Detroit Lions, and some picks, I believe, too.
Yeah, it's our two first-round picks. The Rams are all about giving away their first-round picks. I don't think we have a first-round pick until like 2026, something like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
But you know what? In the NFL, actually, in my opinion, you have maybe five major guys that go in the first round and whatnot. So first picks this is what I was talking about with some of my friends the other day. First rounds don't necessarily mean that much when it comes to the NFL. NBA, yeah. Baseball, kind of. NFL, everybody's going to be pretty solid when it comes to it and getting after it and stuff like that. And on paper, in my opinion, with the numbers, Stafford could be a really good addition for us. Like, he is a solid quarterback. And now that he's going to actually have an offensive line that does a really pretty good job of protecting him, I think that, we have a really good chance of being a serious contender next year.
He's got to stay healthy, for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure, 100%. David, you got this blank look on your face like, I don't care.
I mean,
he's like, I know that the Bucks are in the Super Bowl. And
the Bucks are in the Super Bowl, so to me, that's all I know and care about right now. As I'm wearing a soccer jersey.
Well, not just that, but I recognize the look of just blankly staring at the screen with the I don't care look, because it's the exact look that I have when we talk about Godzilla versus King Kong.
Ah, yeah, that makes sense. Well, welcome, guys. Yeah.
On that, yeah.
On that, I don't know where to go from, football teams that I don't know as much about.
Well, I mean, there's definitely some absolute good stuff to talk about. I know you guys talked a little bit. I got a chance to listen to the show from last week and listen back, and I know you guys had a chance to talk about Wandavision, and I have not given my thoughts yet on the show, so I'll take a quick opportunity to lay in my thoughts. And honestly, I gotta say, based on what you guys said, I really feel pretty closely aligned to what David said about it. The first, I immediately thought after seeing the third episode that they should have dropped all three episodes that first week. Much to their credit, knowing that this is Marvel and that they have a master plan, I was never in danger of dropping off the show or anything. I at the most, what I did contemplate for a hot second was maybe I would just let a couple episodes build up and then sort of watch them in a row. Kind of like how Yasha was doing for a minute with The Mandalorian, where he would kind of let a week go by and not really catch it, and then he would catch that episode almost the same week or the day of the next episode was coming out. So I was sort of toying around with that idea, but that's not typically my nature. When I watch a show week to week, I will usually try and watch it as it drops. So the only reason I say that is just because with the nature of the show and the way that they were giving us information, I was all in for what they were doing in terms of the sitcom formula and paying that kind of homage to it and doing it in that style. I appreciate what goes into it and the work that they did and how it turned out. But knowing that there's this big mystery there that you're trying to figure out, I was wanting a little bit more of that in those episodes, and not a whole lot more, but maybe just a little bit more. And so I think that from week to week, I was watching it more or less, or at least those first two weeks, I was watching it because I was starving for information. I wanted to know more. And so it was not like I was anticipating it in the same way after this last week's episode, where now I'm excited to see the next episode because I can't wait to get to it, because now I'm more like, okay, here's the meat and potatoes. Everything else was a little bit of a side serving, and now we're getting into the main course, and so this is much meatier, much juicier material. So that's kind of where I was like, all right, I was already into it, and I won't say I'm on board now because I was already on board, but now they're getting into the part of the information that I'm ready to have presented to me in terms of what's really going on here and who's behind the things that are going on, and where does this go, and how does this lead into Spider-Man 3 and to Doctor Strange, and how that all plays in together. So, I'm definitely here for it, and I think that now I think a lot of people who maybe weren't on board after seeing or hearing about this episode, they'll probably be more into it and maybe more to what they were looking for in the first place. But yeah, I think that's pretty much where I land with it now.
Nice. Good to hear. Yeah. I mean, obviously we're not talking spoilers, but there's no doubt after the fourth episode, I'm much happier with what I saw for sure.
It was a great lead-in. Like I said last week, I think that the payoff is going to be really good. I mean, yeah, are the first couple of episodes weird? 100%. I do agree with you. I think they should have it should have been the first 3 episodes and then the fourth one this week. But I mean, I said it last week, and I stand by it. It's like the payoff is going to be huge. I feel like for this show, because it's like it already, like the way that they started this fourth episode, it really kind of like answered a ton of questions and presented many more. I am so psyched to see where they're going to go with this next, and it's just, I think it's incredibly creative. Bravo to the creative writing team for this episode and this show. Like, I really hope that it gets some sort of award and accolades for it, because I think that they're just going next level creativeness when it comes to how a show is developing, how a show develops its characters, and how it's going to lead into Doctor Strange or Spider-Man 3 and all of that stuff. Like, I mean, this is really, really exciting. I want to watch the rest of it. After the end of that show, I was pissed because if you watch the show, when they start rolling credits, I'm like, wait, there's like 7 minutes left. Like, they just block all that off and we're just going to watch credits now? Yes, that's exactly what we're going to do. I thought they were going to have another scene, but they did not. And I was thoroughly, thoroughly upset about that.
That's funny. I hadn't noticed that when I watched it. I guess I hadn't noticed like the timeline of how much should be left. That's funny.
Yeah, I did.
Bobby, you caught that, didn't you? You caught that, right? It was like 10 minutes of credits, right?
It was because I think when I looked, because I was checking and it was getting, it felt like it was like it said we were 24 minutes or something into the episode, and I was like, oh, there should be a little bit more. And no, there wasn't. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. That's, that's a lot of credits. So,
It just
Well, it's a
I
long,
just
it's a long closing, like because basically
yeah.
they have what feels like the opening to a movie at the end of every episode with the credits sequence for this show, which is kind of interesting for a show that's only, you know, an average of like 30-minute episodes.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of odd to me, but
And the other thing was that I had sent in our hangout together that there was a rumor of a 10th episode, and I don't know if that'll end up being true. I've never really seen the source before, but the logic makes sense because somewhere within that article, I remember, and actually, I don't know if it was in the article or if it was in the comment section, but someone had mentioned that when the show was first being announced or coming out, that they had thought that they said that it was going to be like a 6-hour movie. So if you did the math and did like 9 episodes, it doesn't track to 6 hours, especially if they keep it at 30 minutes. I mean, they have so far. We don't know if any other episodes might be longer,
right.
but if they aren't and they're just 30-minute episodes, then you would need another episode in there to make it 6 hours. So
I feel like
we'll
20-minute episode is a more realistic thing because that's how that felt. That last episode felt was like it was like 20 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was a good 20 minutes or whatever because they definitely did some things in it. But
it felt so fast. It felt so fast.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the one thing that I'm curious about is that have you guys noticed, and maybe you haven't, but they do these commercials for the upcoming week's episode, and it's interesting because was there ever any next episode advertising for The Mandalorian that you recall?
I don't think so. Not that I remember.
Yeah, me either.
And
So
they're
I
not
found
throwing
it
it.
interesting.
They're not throwing these at the end of the WandaVision episodes, kind of like a typical like coming next week kind of thing. You're just talking about how they are creating kind of ads for, which I haven't been watching. I haven't seen any of them.
Yeah, I saw a little bit of the one for next week, just like maybe 2 seconds of it, and then I by accident because it was in the Twitter feed, and then I was like, oh, I don't want to see that. I'll wait. Which is funny because, like you said, for the majority of our childhood and growing up, most TV shows always showed like coming up next week, a little snippet of that, and now it's like, I guess I don't care. I don't care to see that. I'd rather see it in context since it's just a week. But growing up, I mean, it was just standard. It was the normal, and so it's sort of hard to flip back to a mode where I would consider that okay. Now I'm at the point where I'm like, no, I'm just going to watch it. I'm not going to worry about seeing a little preview for it. So.
Yeah, I think growing up, most of the stuff we watched, though, wasn't like this, where it's like each episode could reveal so much that you almost don't want to watch like a commercial for it. Like, that's how I am. I definitely don't want to see coming next week kind of situation for any of this. But like, I feel like most of the stuff we watched as kids, like I think of like Star Trek: The Next Generation or something. It's just, those are just kind of almost procedural kind of shows,
Yeah. I guess I was thinking more in terms of, I don't know. Well, specifically in my mind, that the first thing I thought about was something like Lost. And once those type of shows started coming on, and we had more of those types, I'd watch them then. But now it's kind of like I don't want to see it. So it is a shift somehow.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, David, because last week, as I said, I wasn't here, but I did listen to the episode, and you've been able to, so far, keep to your podcast resolution.
so far, so good.
So far, so good.
Yeah, the first
were you
week.
able to watch anything this week?
Yeah, this week I ended up watching The Little Things on HBO Max. Which, I guess this is what our second film that Warner Brothers is releasing in theaters and on HBO Max at the same time. The first one being Wonder Woman, or Wonder Woman 84. But so this was the first one I watched at home because I watched Wonder Woman 1984 in a movie theater. But I did watch The Little Things on HBO Max this week. And first I'll say watching it's just kind of getting into the movie was kind of nice because it felt like one of the first things I've watched in a while that, you know, felt like a movie I'd go see in a movie theater, even though I wasn't watching it in a movie theater. It's hard to explain. Like there was something about it that just like, even just the opening titles and then just the film just had this kind of comfortable, I'm in a movie theater watching a good kind of crime thriller or something, you know, like, and I say that, and I've been able to see movies in movie theaters here and there, but I don't know. There was something about this that felt like a good step in the right direction in terms of getting back to normal. I don't know why, but when it comes to the movie, I have mixed feelings on it. Overall, I enjoyed the movie, and it's one of those things. I feel like we say this a lot, that maybe it's kind of tough to explain my feelings without talking about spoilers, but the movie, it's like I like the story, but at the same time, it feels problematic, like to almost enjoy what I watched. It's got great performances in it from Denzel Washington. Jared Leto is a, you know, perfectly creepy guy in this movie. And there's things about once you kind of get to the ending and see where this movie has headed, I think there's things that when I flash back in my mind to scenes throughout the movie that are kind of setting up what we see at the end, stuff that's kind of problematic for me that doesn't quite work. Again, I'm having to talk in code, which I hate doing since I can't really, you know, I don't want to spoil anything with this film. But I liked the movie overall, and yeah, there's certain things about it that I don't know if quite worked, in my opinion. I don't know. Did you guys watch it?
I watched half of it, so no spoilers. I didn't get a chance to finish it.
Okay.
I did get a chance to watch it, so it's an interesting. I think it's been a while since. Well, we've almost all seen the movie, so it would be
movie, yeah.
normally like what we used to have done in the past, where we just had a review for a movie. So it's just feels kind of nice to have seen something that you've seen. Because honestly, I really thought for sure. Let me see. I'm trying to think of the name of it. Oh man, I can't think of the name of it. But last week you mentioned that you had watched
The White Tiger.
Well, now I forgot you had watched White Tiger, but then you were thinking of trying to watch this other movie. Mm-hmm. And so since you didn't watch that movie, I thought maybe you would have watched it this week instead.
I almost watched that as well. I almost fit a couple movies in. It didn't happen.
Okay.
But yeah, this movie felt like, oh, this is kind of like the new release of the week, you know, like us big studios putting out a new movie that we all can watch if we have HBO Max or if we go to a movie theater. So, and I had heard some kind of buzz here and there a bit. I think kind of critically it's getting a mixed response, but from a couple of reviewers I respect, I was like, this seems some like a positive reaction. And then it made me even more interested in checking it out. So that's why I went with that one.
So yeah, I did get a chance to watch it. And I think it's a lot of the reasoning that you said, David. It's like, as far as choosing to watch this movie this week, it felt like, not that we could go to the movie. Well, technically you could go to the movie theater and see it if you have a theater that's playing right now. In fact, I think I saw for box office, it made 4.8 million this weekend, somewhere around there. But the idea that this movie is a new release movie for 2021. And even though not everyone can go to the theater, like you said, if you have HBO Max, you can watch it. So it almost felt like not like we all went to the movie theater, but we all could share in this thing somewhat the same weekend that it came out. So that was a lot of the reason as to why I chose to watch it this week as well. And my overall thoughts of the movie is that it's okay. I thought it was okay. It's not bad. I think a lot of critics, where I saw their reviews and seeing what issues they had with it, they bumped up against the fact that it felt like it was something that would have been at home in the 90s and would have had that sort of feel of some of the movies that came out then, because this isn't really treading any new ground or doing anything, which I always hate that kind of criticism, honestly. There's a lot of things that are derivative of stuff, but that doesn't mean it can't still be good and do something and just be solid on its own, as opposed to that it's not doing anything. It's not doing anything new with the genre. It's not breaking new ground. I don't think every movie has to have that purpose. I think sometimes you can just sit down, watch a movie, and it entertain you, and it doesn't have to do anything, super new within the framework of what kind of story it's telling. I think my issue with this, which is that aside, is that, like you said, there's some big names in the movie. And I think at different points in time, aside from Denzel Washington, with Rami Malek and Jared Leto, there's some times where their performance I rubbed up against. I don't know why. Sometimes, Rami Malek has a look about him that he carries from movie to movie, TV show to show, or whatever, and it carries in here as well. So it's just him as an actor, as a performer, and so sometimes it reads weird in certain scenes, and I can't tell that if his character is supposed to be smiling or have a wry look to him, or if that's just Rami because he has that kind of look about him sometimes. And then Jared Leto, there were some times where I thought his performance was good, and then sometimes it felt like it was a little bit over the top. And I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm not really buying into this. But the first two acts of the film, I really was comfortable with what was being told and how it was playing out. I think it was around the third act and some of the character choices that were being made is where I started to the movie started to falter for me a little bit, because, Denzel Washington plays a cop who was once in LA and prominent, but then a case came his way that he got obsessed with and didn't go the way he wanted. And so he basically kind of threw away a lot of his stuff that he had in life off of this case. And so he kind of returns to LA because another case brings him there, and he gets involved with Rami Malek, who's on a new case. And the idea that you've got this really seasoned veteran cop, and then Rami Malek, who's a little bit newer, but still very good at what he does. Some of the choices that they make, it's just like, would you really do that? I mean, I don't understand why you would make that decision as an officer, as a detective. Like, that just seems like a silly choice to me, that you would do this thing. And so it started to lose a little traction with me. And then, the ending, I'm still sort of trying to digest that a little bit in terms of how I feel about it. But overall, I think it just sort of balanced it out to being okay. I think the performances, even though I had some issues with some parts of it, were still pretty good for the most part. And I just think that with this being the one big movie that HBO Max has right now that just came out for this week, I wouldn't steer people away from it. I think it's still good enough to check out if you already have HBO Max.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, if you're looking for something to watch and you have HBO Max, I think it's worth a watch at home. And I think I'm glad I saw it at home, even though I think the movie is is made in a way that it would feel good in a movie theater to see it. It's definitely made with seeing it in a movie theater, I think, in mind. I say that as a movie that is not like a big effects film that it's like, oh man, I gotta see Godzilla vs. Kong in a movie theater. It's not like that, obviously, but still, it doesn't feel like kind of a. I hate to use Netflix. I don't want to say it as like a knock against them, but it doesn't feel like something made for like a direct to streaming kind of situation. But absolutely. I agree with you too that yeah, the third act is definitely where I might have some issues with decisions that characters make. And I get what you were saying too. I made a point to mention Denzel Washington and Jared Leto, but I didn't say anything about Rami Malek because I kind of agree with you. His performance is, I like him as an actor, but his performance in this is interesting at times. I think it's kind of what you're saying. Something about the like his just look in it that is interesting. Is weird.
I'm really glad to hear you guys say that because that's honestly, I've watched about 40, 45 minutes maybe of the movie, and that's legitimately how I felt about it when I was watching it. I was like, why do I feel like he's so weird in this film? Like, it's just so odd. Like, it's not necessarily, I don't want to know what character it's like he's supposed to be driven when it comes to it, like what role he's trying to personify. If he's really doing a deep dive to try and get away from Freddie Mercury. Like, I don't know what his goal is, but it's like, I mean, even still, it's just, I'm looking at him and I'm like, dude, what, like, in some scenes, I don't know why I noticed this, but in some scenes he's walking and he only moves one arm. So it's just like, I was just like, what is that? Like, what are you doing? Like, I found it really weird. So no, I'm in agreement with you guys.
And also, I didn't realize looking into the movie a little bit after I watched it, and you mentioned how some critics have criticized the fact that it feels like a movie that should have been in the 90s. I didn't realize this movie was written in the 90s. He wrote this back in like 1993 with the idea of, and this blows my mind. I did not know he wrote this with the idea of Steven Spielberg directing this film, which, I mean, seeing the end product that we got, I mean, imagining Spielberg making a movie like this is like a giant, in what world did you think he would be a good director for this? Right. But, you know, at the same time, maybe Spielberg could have made a really interesting version of this. I don't know, but yeah, I didn't know
You know who I would think would make a good version of this? Because I really do think there might be some script issues there. The story, maybe the story's been sort of told in somewhat form or fashion before, but I don't really have an issue with that. I think there's some script issues there. And I think that the person who probably could have pulled this off in a way that I would have really appreciated would have been Ben Affleck. I think he probably would have done a pretty good job with this type of material. And this it seems like it'd be something up his alley.
Yeah, I could see that.
I could see that.
But so I guess then, David, you got your movie out of the way.
I got my movie out of the
way. Did you have a chance to watch anything else? Was that it?
No, I mean, I finished some things this week. I finally finished the most recent season of The Crown, for example, which is a show that I've just been I love The Crown, but I just kind of take my time with it, I guess. I haven't been in a rush to, especially through the holidays with as much going on, and then getting to my top 10 films of the year kind of binge. It definitely took a backseat during that time. But yeah, I finally finished that this week. And then, yeah, amazingly enough, for a show that I love, it kind of even blows my mind that I never, for some reason, got around to watching the finale to Silicon Valley. Until like last night. I was sitting there like not wanting to get too deep into watching anything. It was just kind of a relaxing, get some stuff done night. And then I was like, I want to put something on, and it just kind of clicked. I'm like, wait a second, I never finished Silicon Valley. I really should watch that. And that's an easy watch. I'll throw that on. So I watched that. That's kind of really the only other things I saw this week.
And that's one of Yasha's shows. I remember he's big on that one. He's watched that one. So I'm surprised he didn't give you any crap for waiting so long to watch it.
I've watched it now.
Yeah. Speaking of Yasha, have you had a chance to watch anything this week?
I started watching Superstore again, which was actually quite some of the stuff that it's just a sitcom on the show. I'm watching obviously The Mentalist still. I'm finishing that up. But watching Superstore kind of went back to the roots of watching some of the sitcoms because they started releasing new episodes this past couple of weeks. Superstore is fantastic. It's so brilliantly written right now. The other is obviously WandaVision, which is just a whole nother level of just meeting my expectations and being so much fun to watch now. So that's really all I've got a chance to watch. And I've started watching all the little things, which I'm enjoying, but I just haven't been able to finish.
You know, it's funny. I haven't watched the Superstore, but there's a show that just came on, just started on NBC. Maybe it's been on for about a month. I'm a little bit behind, um, but so far I'm kind of into it. It's called The Mayor, and it has Ted Danson in it.
Yeah, I've
Oh,
seen
I
ads
wanted
for
to
it.
watch that. I wanted to watch that. I haven't gotten a chance to watch that yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think the pilot episode was it was okay. And once I watched the second episode, I really felt like it maybe started to gel a little bit more. And I think I've only seen the two episodes, but been recording it, and I do plan on going back to that. So, I guess this is a good time to talk about some of the stuff that I've seen since I just mentioned the mayor. I did see that. Um, I've been watching Batwoman now that it's came back. For anyone that doesn't know the whole story there, Batwoman is on its second season. The first season starred Ruby Rose, and I think it was, man, the last episode or so that she decided she was not going to come back to the role, and so they had to go a different way. And there's so many different ways they could have went. I'm really not sure why they decided to just get rid of the character altogether, as opposed to just recasting her with a new actress that would still play that character, because the character is someone that's from the comic books that people are familiar with. So I'm surprised that they didn't go that route, but they didn't. They got a new actress in there, and I don't have it pulled up in front of me, so I can't remember the actress's name. But she's African American, and so they have this female African American character now playing Batwoman. And I watched the first episode of Batwoman last season. I always give the new CW superhero shows a shot just to see what I think. And I thought it was okay, but it wasn't to the level where I was like, okay, I'm going to tune in next week and see what happens. It just didn't grab me on that level. Whereas when I watched the first episode of the second season of Batwoman, um, the story there with this new girl was interesting, and there's still some rough aspects to the show, but it was enough there to make me curious as to how things will progress and move forward. And so I think there's been two episodes, and then the third episode is tonight. So I think right now I'm still on board with it. I like what they're doing with it, and um, I'm interested in this character from this perspective of someone else playing her and how she came about to doing it. So I don't know if anyone has watched Batwoman before and gave up on it, or how they're feeling about it now, but it's I would say try and give it a second shot if you didn't like it before. See what you think about this. But that's where I kind of am with it now, is that I've given it a second shot and I'm kind of intrigued by it. I don't know if I'll stay on it the whole time, but right now it has my attention. So I'll be checking that out probably after we finish tonight. Um, let's see, what else have I watched? So there was another new Netflix movie that came out. I think it was last week, maybe the week before. I didn't get a chance to watch it because I think we were getting ready for our top tens and all that good stuff. So I just didn't have a chance to watch it until this past week. And have any of you guys heard of this movie called Outside the Wire on Netflix?
I have not.
So, okay. It has Anthony Mackie
Outside
in
the
it.
Wire.
Yeah, Anthony
Yeah, I
Mackie
have
is
heard
in
of
it.
that. The action one.
Yeah. And the basic
Yeah.
premise is that he is he's like a, I don't know, a cybernetic enhanced guy who is helping to train this guy who was a drone pilot, and he messes up. He does something that he shouldn't have, and he gets reassigned. And getting reassigned, he gets reassigned to Anthony Mackie to help him on his other mission. And I won't say much more about it. If someone by chance decides that they want to check this out, but I gotta say, man, it wasn't good. I didn't like it. I'm not gonna beat around the bush with it too much. It just fell flat.
Wow.
It just was not. Yeah, I don't know. It just fell flat. Based on what I saw in the trailer for it, and it had potential, and I just don't think that it lived up to that level of potential that, at least where on paper you could see where the story would be interesting. I just don't think that there was anything really that I saw in there that was on an entertaining value, made me want to really stick with it. And I had to stick with it because I wanted to finish it. Otherwise, I probably would have turned it off and just not finished watching it, because it just wasn't anything good. I mean, it's not like the acting is bad or anything. It just was boring, really, honestly, if I had to say anything about it. So I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, there's plenty of other good stuff out there, and I would completely tell people just to spend your time on something else as opposed to that one. So sorry, I thought it was going to be better, but it didn't turn out that way.
I have started that movie.
How far are you into it?
I probably about 30 or 40 minutes, and I mean, I don't know if I'm not I don't know if I'm disliking it, but I'm like, okay, this is okay. I haven't finished it yet, so I'm still interested in kind of seeing where it goes. So we'll see, but like after hearing your review, I'm not entirely sure I'll actually keep up with it, just because it sounds bad. I think the last time that I actually heard you actually audibly say you did not like a movie and it was bad, if I remember correctly, I think it was Fantastic Four.
There's
The
been one more
that they
recent.
released. And that was the last time I
There's
remember.
been-
I don't remember that, but that was the one. Like, I remember that because you had this huge buildup where I remember exactly how you started talking about it. You were just like, I went in there, I tried to give it an open mind and everything, and this movie was bad. Like, it was really bad. So, what was the other one that you remember?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember too. I can't remember.
Oh, the classic movie that just everyone is raving about, and it's apparently getting a sequel. I don't know how, especially because I think it came out during pandemic time. The Vin Diesel classic Bloodshot. Did not
Okay.
like. So,
Oh, that's right. That's right.
yeah.
I do remember you saying that. I do remember you talking about that one, and I was surprised because I looked up the numbers,
Yeah.
and it's not like they did really well either. And I'm just like, this is getting a sequel? Like, really?
Yeah. I don't know what kind of information Vin Diesel has on somebody, but apparently
You made the same comment I was
he's
just going to
getting a
make, so it almost seems like Vin Diesel knows something.
Yeah. So I don't know. Let's see. So yeah, that wasn't great. Oh, one movie that I watched based on, well, yeah, I guess it was really kind of just on the strength of Michelle and David, because I had heard of the movie. I wouldn't say I didn't have any interest in seeing it, but it just wasn't. It would be farther down on the list in terms of me watching it. But I decided to give Dick Johnson Is Dead a try on Netflix. And Wow. Yeah, that's a nice little movie there. Uh, I mean, it's I don't think it would have made my top 10, but I appreciated it on such a interesting level of just what this documentarian, the lady who made the movie, who is the daughter of Dick Johnson, had to have gone through to one create this idea of filming different ways her father could pass away, um, because she's having to capture these moments that look very real, but putting her dad in these scenarios is a way of trying to cope when he actually does pass. Um, it's creative in the way that they do a lot of the scenes in which he passes, and he's just such this nice, lovable kind of guy too, and you really can tell the bond and relationship they have. And then there's these heartwarming moments and these bittersweet moments and funny moments. One of the funny moments I think is that caught me off guard is when he goes to visit his I think it was his college sweetheart or something. And they were talking in a very sexual manner in a weird sort of way that it just felt like, oh man, it's kind of awkward, but it's still kind of funny because they're older, but they still have those thoughts and stuff. And I think that for her to have to go through this and put it on film, it must have been very cathartic just because this is what she does. And then to do that and turn the lens on herself and her life, it's pretty harrowing. And it must have been such a thing to actually have to do and go through in film, but to come out on the other side of that and have this. And one of the moments that makes me think about it is that there's this part in the movie where she is with her mom, and her mom is in these late stages of not being able to remember things. And she mentions in the voiceover that this is pretty much the only thing she ever shot of her mom. And it's like, man, that's crazy, because she even talks about the fact that she's been doing this for however many years, filming documentaries and stuff, and for her to not have some of those moments, moments when her mom was more lucid in herself, and not to have that, but then just to have this when she's, really at a progressed stage, is heartbreaking. And so I can see why she felt like in a lot of ways, I'm not going to make that mistake with my dad. I'm going to preserve what he is and how he is as he is now, and have that. So yeah, I really did enjoy it a lot, and I'm glad I did check it out. And it's on Netflix for anyone else that wants to check it out.
Yeah, I'm glad you checked that out. Yeah, I mean, for those who didn't hear, that was my number 2 movie of the year. So I obviously enjoyed it quite a bit. I thought it was just a great movie. And yeah, I think that was my first documentary I ever had on the top 10. And I'm not to say it's like the greatest documentary I've ever seen, but last year that was a solid film. I liked it.
Yeah, this other movie I end up watching it is, I don't know, I guess maybe I don't really know how to describe it, honestly. It's a movie, but it's not a movie. Really, it's a filmed stage play or stage show, one man stage show, and it's called In and of Itself, and it's with Derek Delgadio on Hulu. Have either of you heard of this?
I've heard of it, but I haven't. I want to check it out, but I haven't watched it yet.
Oh man. So here's the deal. I'd heard about it from a few different sources in terms of like, I was seeing things on Twitter from film critics that I follow, and a few of them mentioned, well, hey, watch this thing, but don't read about it beforehand, just kind of go into it cold. So I was like, all right, well, a few people are mentioning it, and I'm curious now. You have my interest. So I won't say too much about it either, other than to say what I have, and that it's this one man show, and it does this thing where there's it's telling a story, but in such an interesting way that I've never seen done before. And I don't even know what all to say about it that would be spoilerish. Like I could, if even if I tell you who this guy is and what he does, I don't know that if that's a spoiler or not. So I won't say that much about it other than to say I thought it was really good. Now, I've seen some film critics saying that, it was very emotional for him and they cried and stuff. I didn't get to that level with it, but I really did enjoy what was going on there and was astounded and amazed at different times of what I was seeing and couldn't believe it and was rewinding a few different times because I was just completely caught off guard because I didn't know what I was going into. And so when certain things were happening, I was like, wait, what? What's going on here now? So it was an interesting experience to watch it that way. But I definitely would recommend it because I can see how for different people they'll pull something else out of it that maybe I didn't necessarily pull out of it, but still appreciate it. So that's in and of itself on Hulu.
Cool. Yeah, want to check it out, and I might check it out this week. But yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
So let me continue.
Okay.
It's been a while. It's been a while. Yeah, it's been a while. I wish you guys had seen some of these things so you could at least say, yeah, what you think about it. But are you familiar with Jindy Tartakovsky? See, I can't even say his name right. Jindy Tartakovsky.
Definitely no.
So you might know some of the stuff that he's done. He's done Samurai Jack, and he also did that Clone Wars before the Clone Wars that came out. He has a unique animation style that you if you've seen it, you would know it for sure.
Okay.
He has this new show, or new to me anyways. I guess it's on its maybe just finished its first season. I saw it on HBO Max, and it's called Primal. Now, it's animated, but what makes this thing so cool is that there's no dialogue in it, and it's about this guy who takes place in the time of dinosaurs, and he's like this caveman type guy. And it's really, I've only seen 2 episodes, but so far I'm in on it because it's brutal. Like there's a lot of violence and blood and stuff like that. But there's also some heart to it, and all being communicated without saying words. And it's just well told, well done. I love the animation of it. And I watched Samurai Jack, so I was familiar with his stuff since that, and really loved Samurai Jack. And he just has a way of being able to tell stories. And so far, I'm into it. And again, I've only seen 2 episodes, but I'm on board for it, and I want to see more because it's such a unique thing in and of itself that there's no one else is doing what he's doing right now, and it's like he's mastered this. And so I remember it was a couple years ago he was attached to do a CG version of Popeye, and there was a couple stills from it that he was working on from when he was to do it, and I was looking forward to it, but then I forget what happened to it. I know either it got canceled or he got pulled off of it, one of the two. But yeah, I was looking forward to it because I've always liked Popeye, and so I was kind of looking forward to his version of it. But sadly, that doesn't seem to be going forward anymore. But yeah, I would absolutely recommend anyone that likes animation and likes this kind of genre of storytelling that's more adult, to check this out. Just watch that pilot episode, the first episode. I guarantee you'll probably want to hit play immediately to see what the second episode is, because some stuff happens in that first episode. I'm like, wow, okay, we're doing this. All right, okay, let's see what else you got. It's good stuff. So that's Primal.
You mentioned it's more adult. Like, is this something that's definitely not suitable for kids, or
Oh
depends on their
no, I
age,
don't
or
believe so.
not at all?
Maybe it depends on their age. I would say it depends on their age
Okay.
because I think if you have a kid that's 13, 12, it's probably okay for them.
Right.
But beyond that, no, it's definitely not. It's brutal. It's
Okay.
yeah, yeah, lots of blood being spilled in this stuff and some
Good to
of the
know.
other stuff that happens. Yeah. um, the the other thing I had a chance to watch is this show on Amazon. And have you guys heard of this show called Wayne?
Nope. Also a no.
Yeah,
So
I
it's
have.
this weird. You have Yasha.
I started it.
How
I've
far are
started it.
you?
Yeah, but I don't know. It's about 2, 3 episodes.
What are you thinking so far?
I I don't have any driving desire to need to finish it. If that makes sense. Like, we've talked about shows that don't really hold up when it comes to that sort of thing, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. Is just like I don't have this drive to like really keep the show going. Like I've found it, humorous, interesting, engaging for to a level, but I'm not necessarily like, oh man, I can't wait to see what happens next. I started it a few weeks ago, and I'm still at the same spot. Like I'm trying to
Hmm.
keep up on other stuff that I find more important and more entertaining than that. So, but I have liked it, and what I have seen, and my friend actually referred it to me too, and he said it's really really good. You guys stick with it. So, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, maybe I'm about as far as you are. I think I've gotten about 3 or 4 episodes into it, and I'm fascinated by it because I don't recall seeing a show like this before. The lead character, he's going through some things. He's just has this chip on his shoulder. I wouldn't say he's a popular kid, but he's this kid that is within his circle. He's someone that when you see him, a lot of kids will walk the other way because he's unhinged in a lot of different ways. And so you don't know what he's going to do. And he doesn't typically like to, at least in the few episodes I've seen, he doesn't really lie. And he has this odd sort of code where if someone is doing something wrong to someone, he has to get involved and make it right for that person, even if he's not being asked to, or even if he's not going about it in the best way. He just feels like he has to stand up for the person who is not able to stand up for themselves. And it gets him into a lot of trouble. And so I've been sort of watching it from of a level of fascination because I've just never seen a character like this before. He just doesn't care, and almost to the detriment of his own life, really. And he just feels that he needs to do this thing, and he's driven by it. And yeah, I'm curious to see where it goes because he's at this point in the story. There's something that happens in his life that sets him on a mission to go and find this car that his dad had given to him. And so it's taking him to some different places and to do different things. And it's kind of a road trip kind of thing, but stopping off in different locations, at least so far that I've seen. And there's other people that are involved that are after him and other things that are going on there that, yeah, it just kind of has me into it. I haven't had a chance to come back to it yet, but it's absolutely something I feel like I want to finish just because I got to know where this thing is going just because of how crazy it is. So even though, Yasha, you may not be completely into it, the fact that you said you have a friend that said that you got to watch it and stick with it, I'm already on board, so now I'm really anxious to see where it goes if he's saying to stick with it, because I was already into it just since the first episode. So yeah, that makes me even more anxious to kind of get back to it and see where it goes.
No, that's fair. Yeah, no, I feel that way. I mean, I probably will return back to it. I just haven't.
Yeah. There, David. So there was one other thing that I did want to ask you about.
Yeah.
Something I know that you had at least started, but don't know where you're at currently with it. A few weeks ago, I guess it's been a few weeks at this point, there was an initiative that started and it has taken place now with Star Wars. And they released a new novel that takes place in the High Republic, a time in which we have not explored yet before. And the first book is called Light of the Jedi. I had a chance to listen to the audiobook and finish it. And when I spoke to you about it, you had not gotten too far, but had definitely started it. So where are you at with it now?
I'm still early. I'm still listening to it here and there.
Okay.
And I want to get into a groove of really kind of not digging my way through it. That makes it sound like it's hard to listen to, but listening to it like on a regular basis until I can complete it. But yeah, I'm not much farther than when we last spoke.
Okay. Well, my thoughts on it is that I'm really into it. It's just so nice and refreshing to have material that is taking place during a time that we don't know about and with characters we're not familiar with. In fact, I think the only character that I know that everyone would know is Yoda. He's younger, but obviously not a ton younger, because this takes place 200 years prior to Phantom Menace, I would imagine. So it's not like he's super young. He's still pretty old, but younger than you've seen him before. And in fact, you don't see him much. He's not like a focal point or anything. You hear his name a couple times. And there's a side comic book that's come out that is another character and some of their journey. And so he appeared in that one as well. And the Light of the Jedi book, it's this story that's being told about this incident that happens where something happens and this ship kind of is breaking, or something is breaking apart out of hyperspace, and it's causing a lot of turmoil. It could possibly crash onto planets. It's crashing into ships that were in orbit, and it's not something that anyone could necessarily predict was happening, but the Jedi are called in to try and help stop this thing that's happening. And it goes into some pretty cool places and some interesting places. And there's this enemy that's out there that they have to, I'm trying not to say too much. There's a new enemy to us, but also to them. Obviously, they're new to us because we've never seen this time period before, but they're new to them as well. And I'm curious to see where they go with this enemy, because I could see how there's going to be some friction there. That's all I'll say. But yeah, I'm absolutely enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to the next book that comes out, I think, here in February, I believe. And so as soon as that one comes out, I'll be jumping on that one as well, just because it's my Star Wars fix. And I love these canon novels just because I know that, especially now, it seems like with Favreau and Filoni in, that this stuff will really start to matter. And we know for a fact that a lot of this will at some point dovetail into the Acolyte show that's coming out on Disney Plus for the Star Wars show. In what way, who knows? It's still early days for this stuff, but we know that it's going to have some correlation with that. So it makes me more interested and involved in what I'm reading and listening to. So yeah, I'm definitely would recommend it for anyone who needs a Star Wars fix while we're waiting for more live action content.
I have to ask, you said something about friction there. Are you referring to like friction within the story or friction like in fandom or something?
Within the story.
Oh,
Within
okay.
the story.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, I would say there's little to none as far as friction with the fandom when it comes to this new novel. I'd say it's probably, from at least what I've seen out there on social media, I'd say 90 to 95% of it has been positive. So yeah.
Cool. That's a good sign.
Yeah. And I think that's it. I don't have anything else I've been watching. That's all. Yeah. Well, I mean, I do have more, but I'll save it for another time.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, yeah, with that, does anybody have anything else they wanted to bring up before we wrap this up? I know I really don't. Like I said, I didn't watch as much this week, but I did see my one movie. So I'm doing good so far.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, no, I don't have anything else at the moment. I will have more next week from stuff else that I've been watching that I didn't talk about this weekend. I'll probably have some new stuff that I've
spread it out a little bit.
Yeah, because it's not all stuff that I would say that it's that. While I will say the stuff that I've been watching, I will suggest to people and say, yeah, check it out. I don't think it's anything that if you don't check it out right now, then you're losing out. It's nothing so pertinent that you have to hear about it right now, this moment.
Right.
And so I think it's easy enough to carry it over a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, the only place that's kind of a thing right now is HBO Max with these new releases, how they're only there for like a month, right? Because I think is that the case with every one of these films that they're putting out that are also in theaters?
I don't know. That's a good question. Honestly.
I thought I'd heard that about the little things as well. I thought I read or something that it was only going to be on HBO Max for a month. But
it could be
because my parents just ran into that with Wonder Woman 1984. I guess they were going to go watch it, and it's now gone. It's not on HBO Max anymore, apparently. So yeah, they missed their window.
It was up there, honestly, a few days ago.
Yeah, it was.
I saw it there. So
it might be like right when the little things dropped. I think it might have disappeared.
I could see that.
And I think I'd looked at the calendar. I guess I forget what the next film. I think it's like mid-February that we're getting. That's another kind of the next HBO Max theater direct to HBO Max release. And I can't remember what movie it was.
I want to say it was probably Tom and Jerry, but I don't know.
I think you're right. I think it is Tom and Jerry. Yeah, I guess with that, we are going to wrap things up and get on out of here. As always, we would love to hear back from everyone listening and watching. If you're watching on YouTube, you can leave your comments or questions down below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and please hit that bell icon so you can be notified whenever we post any videos or go live in the future. We are also on Instagram and Twitter at Flickr_effect. And you can email us at feedback@flickereffect.com. With that, I'm David Lott.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
sorry. Before we do our sign-offs.
Okay.
We did a little thing a few days ago. There's this app called Stereo where it allows you to kind of do an audio version of a podcast. And we did something over there that was a little short-form thing that was just us chatting. And that's another place I guess you can maybe check us out as well and hear us over there. No video, it's just audio, and it allows you to ask questions live while people are doing their podcast or whatever you want to call it. So maybe give us a shot over there. I'm sure we might do it again at some point and catch us when we go live over there.
Since I think you've poked around in that app more than I have, like how would someone find, like for instance, the show that you and I did? Other than, I guess, just go to like our Twitter. You can find a link to it on our Twitter account. But
Yeah, and then I think also, and since it's still new, it's very new. It's like one of those things like when TikTok was new and not a lot of people knew about it, and then
Right.
a few months later it kind of blew up. This might be similar, or it could be another Periscope where people forget about it after a little while. Who knows? But I think that it's stereo.com and then it's slash maybe whatever your username is. So in this case, it could be stereo.com/flicker effect, or it could be stereo.com/ in my case it's Bojax, Bojax, and I think you can find us that way.
Right. Sounds good. All right. Again, with that, I'm David Lott.
I'm Bobby Jackson.
Nope. And we'll
he's
say
on
goodbye.
delay.
Yeah, he's on delay. We'll say goodbye for Yasha.
Did you already do the sign offs?
Oh, we're doing it now.
Bye, guys.
All right. Thanks everybody for listening. Bye, everybody.
All right.